Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my 2 obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And a couple of my subscribers made me aware of another video, asked me to cover it. And that's by none other than the wise one, Kinobody, the self-proclaimed Bruce Wayne of the fitness industry, telling all of you how to develop a Hollywood physique, even though he's not a trainer of the stars. But here's what everyone waits for in these Bruce Wayne videos.
Oh, Bruce. Not everybody wants to look like a superhero. Perhaps some want to look like a villain. Do you remember when I broke your body?
Alright, so let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing. Work on skilling up my crafting a little bit. And let's critique this video, because he got some things right and he got some things wrong. A lot of it was BS. There's some truth there. All right, up front, and we'll get into actual training of the stars and how a lot of these guys do actually train for these roles, because a lot of it has been revealed by their actual trainers, and I've covered a lot of those transformations. Even though I'm not a physique guy, I don't care about physique. I care about strength and conditioning. A lot of their workouts are actually pretty good, but they're not what he's promoting. None of these guys are training in the manner that he's breaking down. So the first thing he gets wrong, he starts talking about that hard, dense Hollywood look. He starts talking about myofibular hypertrophy versus sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. All right, those things are real, but as far as training for one versus the other, that's a myth. When this has been looked at in the literature, because the concept was that, the argument was that why do some bodybuilders appear to be bigger than strength athletes? They seem to have larger muscles but are weaker. So the explanation that people came up with, the obvious answer is, drugs combined with training style. But, I digress. We'll go back to the point of the theory was that because we know both types of hypertrophy occur in muscles, that really heavy weight with lower reps would induce more myofibular hypertrophy, the thickening of the contractile proteins, and higher rep training would cause sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, the sarcoplasm within the muscle cells, right? It doesn't really contract, so it may not contribute to strength as much, but might contribute to muscular stamina more, right? That was the theory. When it's been tested, it hasn't been found to be true. The majority of studies aren't really finding a difference. A handful do, but they are in the minority. By and large, it's not something that you can particularly train for one versus the other. It just doesn't seem to be the case. It's a nice hypothesis. It's a cute hypothesis, but there's a lot of other explanations for that that actually are better supported in the scientific literature. So he's already spouting kind of bro science. I'm not saying it's bro science in the sense of it wasn't proposed by physiologists. It's just that that's what bro science usually is. When a hypothesis is proposed by physiologists and not really found to be heavily supported by their research later, and all the bros promote it, it's bro science because it's not really, valid science. It's kind of like saying, hey, we think maybe this will cure cancer. We go test it. It doesn't seem to cure cancer. And then a bunch of hippies say, this cures cancer, right? It's the same sort of concept. Based on good theory, but not really true. So he's already kind of off the mark there. Then the other thing I thought was interesting is like the best way to train is reverse pyramids. No, I don't think reverse pyramids are that great. They're okay. They're okay for people who have a low training frequency, who don't have a lot of time to spend in the gym. Now, guys like him who promote a lot of intermittent fasting, that is common among intermittent fasting. Martin Birkin made that popular because Martin popularized just trying to get really strong, really fast workouts, getting people out of the gym in like 30 minutes, and intermittent fasting and no cardio. That's where Martin Birkin came up with, and his method works better than Kinobody. So people need to remember that. Kinobody stole Martin's work and watered it down. And the way Martin actually worked, and I've talked to Martin about this personally, is that he feels that he didn't just water it down, he bastardized it. He does not like Kinobody for stealing his work at all, and then basically taking the squats and deadlifts out. That was a big problem for Martin because he considers those to be, in his opinion, essential exercises. Like that anyone who wants to be in shape has no business not doing them. And keep in mind, Martin has historically been a model, and he's still saying squats and deadlifts. Martin's one of those guys who thinks you should be deadlifting 600 plus pounds. He does. So that's part of your issue there, is that he stands there and says, well, high reps don't work for retaining muscle when losing fat. But then he has people do high reps. It's like he does these reverse pyramids and then you end with 10 rep sets. That's high reps, bro. I'm someone who trains exclusively with low reps. I don't really go over 3 reps. Most of my work is singles. So, that's low reps. Low reps, 1 to 3. All right, that's low rep training, not 4 to 6, not 5 to 8. That's not low rep training. That's kind of medium rep. And then anything over about 8 reps, 8 to 9 reps, you're getting into higher reps. But 10 reps says it's high reps. So as he contradicts himself straight up. Again, not making a lot of sense there. It's like 10 rep sets on every exercise is doing high reps. I mean, make up your mind. Do you want to avoid high reps because it's not great when you're losing body fat? Now, the other point he made there that is valid, strength training makes muscles bigger or smaller. It doesn't change their tone, right? You can only make a muscle bigger or smaller. You don't necessarily need to burn body fat by doing a bunch of high reps. Your nutrition, your total physical activity, your caloric intake, your energy balance, that's what burns body fat. He's absolutely right. Your resistance training might affect your caloric burn, that's true, but the training doesn't tone the muscles. It only makes them bigger or smaller, which is then interesting because he comes back and what does he say? But, myofibrillar training gives you that dense, hard look. These two ideas are incompatible. We're back to that theory again that's not necessarily panned out very well when tested. But then saying that gives you a hard, dense Hollywood look. But then later saying that, your training doesn't affect muscle tone. It doesn't make the muscle more toned. That's purely body fat. So it's in a 3-minute video, he manages to contradict himself completely on that. And again, maybe there's some cognitive dissonance there. But I do agree with the point. Your body fat levels, and of course whatever drugs you use and stuff like that, obviously is a factor, is going to affect the way the muscle looks, not the actual way that you lift. Either you only make a muscle bigger or smaller. That's it. And he is right on that. There's no argument there. So we've got all of that, but then we get to the point about talking about emphasizing certain muscles. Now it's interesting that he mentions emphasizing certain muscles. What does he say? That if you want the Hollywood look, you need to focus on the shoulders, the upper chest, the upper back, like the lat width. Yeah, that's true. That is how that works. But here's the thing. The actors don't do that for these transformations. Those are also, incidentally, what are the 3 muscles that we know are most impacted by androgens, aka testosterone, aka anabolic steroids? Upper chest, delts, traps. They have the most receptors. You will see the most growth in those muscles relative to other muscles because of what you take. Now, that's also a big part of how these Hollywood actors do this. Go look at in Hollywood, guys. There are tons of clinics that will prescribe you test and HGH, pharmaceutical grade, high quality stuff. It's normal prescription over there in Hollywood and the West Coast. There are dozens of clinics that cater in this. You don't think all these actors just go get scripts for this stuff? Legally? You don't think they're going to spend $1,000 a month to prepare for a movie role to go to a legitimate clinic and get these substances? Of course they do. It's standard. It's normal. It's normal among people who work out in upper class society, who have money. That's actually absolutely the norm. That is the norm, not the exception. So you've got to factor that in. That's the reason a lot of those guys very quickly see those areas come up. And that's the reason they have a certain look. And people say, well, wouldn't that make them watery and bloated? No, because they're getting it all done by a doctor. The doctor's keeping all their stuff in range. And they're not getting garbage black market substances illegally that all you guys are getting. They're getting very high grade American pharmaceutical quality substances. That matters. That matters a lot when it comes to people's look, especially when they're shelling out $1,000 plus a month to the doctor for them, which most of you guys can't afford. That's a car note on a Ferrari. So yeah, that's a big factor there. It's a big part of their look. How are these guys really training? Because he's saying, well, incline, he shows incline bench, weighted pull-ups, and then side laterals. Incline bench is a great exercise. I'm not going to lie. He doesn't know how to perform it correctly. He performs it in a way that will injure you eventually. He is basically borrowing time right now on the way he trains. He doesn't know how to perform the exercise safely or correctly. I've done entire videos on what he does wrong there. But you know, 2 of those are great exercises. Hey, I'll be the first to say, you guys who want to enhance your physique, I think those are real good exercises. Incline bench, I would still argue flat bench or weighted dips along with standing presses to do that. That would be my option, but an incline bench is not a bad exercise. It can bring up the upper chest, delts, triceps. Weighted pull-ups, weighted chin-ups will work wonders for your entire upper back, middle back, biceps. Absolutely. Those are 2 exercises. I'll agree with him. For guys who do want that look, those are exercises they need to be doing. They're good choices. Not going to argue that. But here's the problem we get into with his training. Where's the squats? Where's all the other stuff? He says that you should be training 3 days a week because it'll slow your progression. If you train more, you shouldn't be training every day when you're adding weight or reps every workout. Well, who adds weight and reps every workout? Noobs. People who've been training more than a year, not going to happen anymore. It's just not going to happen. That's called linear progression. However, when you're only training 3 days a week, you need to be training your entire body. Every successful 3-day-a-week training program usually includes squats, pulling for the back, and some sort of press every single one of those days. Every successful novice linear progression program includes that, including my own, including starting strength, including strong lifts, all of these. Where's the barbell squats? He's basically just training the upper body 3 days a week. If you're going to only train 3 days a week successfully, the only reason to cut your frequency down that low is because you are training your entire body with a high amount of workload. You need those days to recover. You're coming in and just playing with your upper body. Again, that's just sheer laziness to only train 3 days a week at that point. That's just reality. And again, his point about, recovery and linear progression, that's great. For novices, he's absolutely right. But what about anybody else? If you've been working out hard for a year, the whole linear progression thing is simply not going to work anymore for you unless you are micro-loading. And I'm talking extreme micro-loading. Stuff like adding 1 pound to an exercise every workout, and then maybe trying to add reps the next week. And then once you gain an extra rep, then you add another pound again. I mean, again, this is the only way this is going to work. You're going to need little tiny micro plates, not even the ones he sells. You're going to need smaller ones if you're going to do any sort of linear programming once you're through that early novice phase. It's just not going to work. And the other thing, here's what we get to. How do these actors train? What are we seeing as the common themes in these transformations when the real trainers, not the little kooky articles, when the real trainers are interviewed, or you interview the actual actors? What are we seeing? A lot of 5x5s with big movements, followed by lots of GPP work. They're not doing reverse pyramids. We did for the last Hellboy transformation. I covered what he had said in the interview. He was doing like 5x5s on exercises like squat, deadlift, bench press, dips, pull-ups, with tons of GPP work, conditioning work, which means barbell complexes, prowler pushes, sled drag, stuff like that. That is how most of these transformations are now being done. Moderate reps, moderate volume, big compound movements, and then tons of conditioning work. We're seeing all this conditioning work in GPP being done to get them into shape, and almost basic 5x5 full body routines being used to build their muscle, followed by really high calorie clean diets. But they're burning thousands of calories with GPP work. That's a lot of what you're seeing there. That's how they're getting these guys in shape. They are doing exercise to burn through the calories, but they're doing high intensity stuff. When you combine all that GPP with the full body programs they're doing, with the higher calorie diets, then combined with a little bit of help from the doctor, that's why they're making these transformations. And that's been pretty consistent. When you start really looking and researching how these transformations have gone, they've been very consistent as far as what they do. And it's very obvious that there's, again, a little bit of pharmaceutical help involved from their doctors, but that's how they're training. He's not even promoting how these guys are training for these Hollywood roles, and he's just slapping his Hollywood tag on it. That's not how they're training. In fact, most of them are doing squats and deadlifts. Most of them are. And for conditioning, they are doing GPP work. They're doing conditioning work. They're not doing intermittent fasting combined with pure upper body reverse pyramid training. That's not what any of them are doing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.